Hi, welcome to Ketobiography. I'm your host, Robin Dobbins. My guest today found his way to NSNG, no sugars, no grains, when he heard its creator, Vinnie Tortorich, on Mike Rowe's podcast, and something clicked. I met him through the NSNG community on Facebook, and we bonded immediately because I lived in South Carolina for 10 years, and that happens to be his home state. He's been doing remarkable things since changing his lifestyle, and right now he's training for something big. Please welcome Matt Loftis to Ketobiography. Hello and welcome, Matt.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to have this opportunity.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking about it because while we talked briefly about it before going live, that we've kind of been circling each other for years and always kind of in contact on social media. I've been watching your story as it unfolds, and I feel like it's definitely time to have you on to share it. But I was trying to think back on like our first conversation, and I'm pretty sure it had to do with making keto chicken bog.
Was it chicken bog or was it chaffles?
It could have been either, but
Yeah.
you know, we had that South Carolina connection, and I was yeah. And, I think you came on. You're like, I'm from South Carolina. I was like, I was right down the road from you when I lived there, and it's too bad we met after I moved because we could have hung out and shared some yummy meals, I'm sure.
Yeah, but some of I meant to ask you. There was one place. I'm having to wave. I'm at work, by the way. So, and I warned her when we first started that I do have some employees coming by, and they always like to wave when they leave. So I have to give them a wave. So if you just see me randomly wave, that's what it is.
It's not directed towards me.
No,
I'll
no.
be okay. No.
But there was a famous place. Did you ever go to that restaurant where you lived in South Carolina that had the interior look like Charleston on the inside?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, some of the best shrimp and grits ever.
Is that Redbone?
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I had been there. Is that not there anymore?
It is. I don't know. It's been about 6 years since I've been there. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely ate there when I was eating carbs. That's for sure.
Oh, most definitely. That's the hard thing about being in the South. There is just not that many restaurants that cater to not a restricted, but a modified way of eating. And you just have to, but there's ways to do it. But it's really hard in the South that when we, covet biscuits and gravy and anything fried. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we should definitely get into that. So let's remember that. But I definitely want to hear your story first because it's pretty incredible. So let's start from the beginning, and then we will hit on how to navigate the South.
Oh, yeah.
While eating a keto carnivore diet after that.
Oh, yes, ma'am. All right. Well, I can share my story. That it's easy because I lived it. But I've always been a big guy. I'm kind of the guy that you read articles about that where like growing up in middle school, high school, I was big, but I was athletic. I was in sports. I was moving. I was eating a lot, but I was also moving a lot, and I was very flexible, very able to stay with it. But as I got older, the eating stayed the same way, but all the extra working out and sports and movement decreased. So when you do that, you're no longer, burning the calories. You don't have a good system going on. So I continue to get bigger and bigger, and I had always been big my entire life. So in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm the same size I've always been, and it just went that way. And I met my wife, and we got married. And during that time, we moved a couple of times with work, and then I started my own company. I like when people ask me what I did. It was kind of like I always said I was the last nice person somebody saw before their house or car got taken. So I would do work for big financial institutions like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, stuff like that. And I traveled from all the way up to Pennsylvania, all the way down to Florida, all the way over to Alabama. That was my area. So I was doing a lot of driving. And one thing you do when you do a lot of driving is you do a lot of sitting. And you also do a lot of eating. And that right there, you know, I was already a big guy. I wasn't getting much exercise. Now take all the exercise out, take all the movement out, and being stuck in a car, and my weight continued to get bigger and bigger. But I was still, and I had started developing issues with my feet to where it was just painful, hurting, arthritis was setting in, all that stuff. But I was still mobile. I was still able to do things. But then in December of 2018, I had just dropped my wife off at where she worked, and I was headed to do a job with my company. And I was at a red light. And well, first of all, being in the South, we have no idea how to drive in snow or ice. And well, some of us do, but most of us don't. You know, we shut down schools, we shut down towns if there's a flurry. All right. So we had just had what we call a big snowstorm, maybe 2 inches. But so there was ice and stuff, black ice and stuff. And it was a decent one for being in the South. And I was at a red light. I was stopped at the red light, and my light turned green. So I proceeded to go through the red light. And this car, big black Dodge Durango, thought he could make the green light, his green light. It had already turned red, and he plowed into the side of me. I wouldn't say T-bone, but it was like right behind my back door, behind my door. He hit me from the side. And to be honest, I thought it was just a hard hit. I was conscious. I got out. I mean, there was still pain in my foot, but being big and already having foot issues, it wasn't nothing new. But at the time, after that, I found out that I had a shattered foot, but I was still up and moving. And I told the paramedic, I didn't think I needed to go to the hospital because I was up moving and all that stuff. I did tell him that my head hurt like right here, and they looked at it and they said, "Well, do you want to go to the hospital?" No, I should have. Basically, I'll get to that. So I had the wreck, and I was involved in the wreck. I didn't have it, and found out. I went to my primary care physician the next day, and she took x-rays of my foot, found out my foot was shattered, that it wasn't just painful to walk on. And to me, that's amazing because, you can get so used to pain that when something that should be a big red flag that there's something wrong, but you're so used to pain that you just ignore it. And so we found out that I had to have surgery. They reconstructed, put metal rods in. I got, screws and metal in my foot now. Surgery went fine. It was great. About 2 days after my surgery, my wife walks into the living room, and I'm like slumped over and staring. My eyes are open. I'm awake, staring off into space. She's calling my name. She can't. And it was like I had zoned out. And at the time, we had no idea what it was, and we still kind of don't. We have a feeling that I had an undiagnosed concussion because I didn't go to the hospital. And when you have a concussion and then you get put to sleep for a surgery, those two don't really go together. And in my childhood, I did have a form of seizures that is the kind that where you just stare off into space and then you snap back. And we think that the combination of the concussion and the anesthesia triggered that, and maybe just some other stuff. And we really don't know what happened after that. From that moment on, almost to a clock, I spent 6 months in a bed. I didn't move. I hardly talked. My wife did everything for me. When I say everything, she did everything. I literally did not move from a bed. So think feeding, bathroom, everything. I was actually talking to somebody Tuesday night who had went through a similar experience. It was like I was a prisoner inside my own brain. Like I could see everything going around me, but I couldn't communicate. I wasn't able to express what I was thinking. And so for 6 months, I laid in a bed and my whole body atrophied. I I lost the ability to sit up in the bed. I lost the ability. I mean, the possibility of standing was non-existent. My body was wrecked. My wife, she's a blessing, and she stayed with me. Even my family, some of hers, told her, "You just leave him. He's not trying." And I wouldn't blame her if she did, but we made vows, and she stuck with me, and she finally got my friend, my best friend from high school, childhood friend, to she reached out to him. She says, "I don't know what else to do." So he reaches out to me, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but he knocked some sense into me or something. He triggered something, and I finally came to, and then I'm at the point to where, okay, I am huge. At this point right now, I am probably the biggest I have ever been. And I would say right around 575 pounds. I'm in a bed. I can't stand. I can't walk. I can't move. So my friend's like, well, you need to get to a hospital. You need, and let me tell you that I still have the cast on my foot from my surgery 6 months later. Yeah. That's because I couldn't move. I didn't talk. I didn't do anything. And so he was like, you got to get to a hospital. You got to get that off. And you got to get to where you can do something. And I sat there and I was like, I can't do that, because I knew what it was going to take. I knew it was going to take us calling 911, having them send out the fire department to do a lift assist to get me out of the house and into an ambulance. And I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I was scared. And what makes it worse, when I was younger, the fire department they're going to call is the fire department that I was a firefighter at. And so I knew these guys. And now I'm going to face them at my lowest. I'm going to face them at my weakest. I'm going to face them at my just worst ever. And I didn't want to see the looks. I didn't want to see what they were thinking. But my friend was like, you need to get over that, and you need to call 911. That's why they're there. That's why you were there when you were in the fire department. And I was like, okay. So I finally did it. And of course, they sent my fire department, and the guys that came in, I knew every one of them, but none of them looked at me with that look that people get. And they were nice. They were uplifting. They got me out. They got me into an ambulance, went to the hospital. 6 months later, they cut the cast off. My leg had shrunk inside the cast. Well, my leg definitely, because it was, compressed. But I couldn't flex my ankles. I had no mobility there at all. We'll get to that. But so they did that, and then they said, well, can you, and I'm in a wheelchair, and then I'm in a hospital bed the whole time. And they're like, well, we want to see if you can stand. I'm like, that ain't going to happen. Not going to happen. But they try, because they need to assess. And so they put the belt around me, and they put me on a lift assist, and they use the machine to stand me up. And it feels like I have 5 tons of weight pushing down on my feet, because I have not used my legs. I have not used my knees, ankles, feet, or anything. So they was like, well, we can't send you home. We're gonna send you to a rehabilitation hospital. So they sent me there. I spent a month there, and they get me to where I can sit up in the bed, where I can sit on the edge of the bed, and they get me to the point to where I can barely get from the bed to a wheelchair. And after the 30 days, insurance is done paying, and so they send me home, or they're getting ready to send me home. And my wife goes and she talks to the trainers, to the PT and the OT. And she does this out of my earshot. She does it in private. And she goes up to them and she's like, what am I going home with? What should my expectations be? And they flat out tell her, what you have is what you got. He's never going to walk again. He's never going to, be able to do any of that stuff. And I don't blame him. I mean, you have someone who's 570 something pounds who just spent 6 months, in their eyes, he's given up. He's not going to be able to do it. There's no rebounding from this. And so that's what she goes home. She never tells me this. She never tells me that. And we go home, and it was kind of funny. I spend 6 months in a bed to go to a hospital, come back, and they're like, here, this is the bed that you're going to, this in a wheelchair. And I will say, I use that wheelchair now as a computer desk chair because it's the most expensive chair I've ever had. And, so yeah, I spent a month in the rehab hospital. And then I had a PT come. He would come like twice a week, and he would try to do things. And I don't know, it just got to where, I was getting comfortable. I was getting comfortable and used to the fact this is my life. And then one day, I'm sitting there listening to my podcast because I love podcasts. I love, books, Audible, stuff like that. I love reading. It doesn't matter. And I was listening to Mike Rowe's podcast, and this crazy guy from California is on there, and he's talking this stuff. And being a big guy, being someone who's been overweight and obese, I've tried every diet there was. I've done the Weight Watchers. I've done, Atkins. I did blah, blah. I did every one of them. I'll tell you this one time. This is free fun for you. Me and my best friend, the guy that knocked some sense into me, about a year or two before my accident and stuff, we watched the documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And it was all about juice fasting. And we were like, yeah, we're going to do a 30-day juice fast. And we videoed it. We actually made YouTube videos, but we took them all down because, oh my goodness. And we lost weight, but it turned me against like ginger and pickles for a long time, or cucumbers. But we tried that, and it was horrible. So like I said, I've tried every diet that I could think of. And I'm sitting there, oh, this is another diet, do that about. And but I kept listening. I'm like, okay. And I think on that one, he did mention, I think 2 of the documentaries. I cannot remember the names of those documentaries, but it was the ones that he did. And I remember watching one of them, and there was something on it, and that one thing changed my life. It wasn't about the eating. It was in this documentary. They showed a man who was struggling with diabetes, and they had to remove his leg. And in the documentary, you can hear the saw cutting through the leg bone, and that flipped the switch in me. And I'm like, no, I do not want that to happen, because I was headed that way. My A1C was off the chart. I was still huge. I'm just, and I told my wife, I'm like, I'm going to try this. I didn't say I'm going to do this NSNG. And, she had seen me try everything else. She said, okay. But, everybody, family, friends, they're like, he won't stick with it. But I don't know. I don't know what it was about that video and listening to that bone being soft. And I was like, no, I don't want that. So I started.
I'm going to cut in real quick just to tell you that it's called Fat, a documentary. That's the first one that Vinnie made. And then the second one is called Fat 2.
Yes. There you go.
Both, I believe, are still available on all kinds of streaming services. So I'll just throw that out there. Keep going.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, those are the 2 documentaries. I can't remember which one the leg cutting was in, but it was in one of them. The first one, it was in the first one. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. And I started off eating a bunch of chaffles. and then, I started doing it. I just did away with no sugar. I didn't drink any diet drinks. It was just water, coffee. And because my coffee didn't change. I was never big on the sweet coffees. I drank black coffee. I was in the Boy Scouts. There's just something about waking up and just having that thick motor oil and just drinking it. And so that, and I always was a big water drinker. So, my biggest thing was when it came to liquids, I can chug. Like, I can drink a lot really quickly, really fast. So you give me a 20-ounce drink, it's going to be gone. So that's a lot of quick calories and sugar down. So I did it. Water, coffee, unsweet tea. That was my liquids. And then basically just meat, eggs, cheese, and butter, for the most part. Well, I mean, for everything. And then I hit another road. Well, it wasn't my roadblock. It could have been. It could have been an event in my life that would have just said, no, forget it. I can't do this. Literally almost 2 to 3 weeks after I started this way of eating, my wife has 2 strokes. And this is I don't know if your people believe in God or not, but at this point I'm still in a wheelchair. My wife comes in from a long day at work, and she had been visiting her parents, and when she comes in, I am the one who diagnoses. I see the facials and the slur and all that, and I'm still in a wheelchair. At this moment, I force myself out of the wheelchair. I pick her up and carry her to the car and drive her to the hospital. Now, once I'm at the hospital, I can't walk no more. So I have to get somebody to help me. But so that happens. And for most people and most times, if somebody just started anything new, something like that will derail them. I didn't let it. I don't know how. It was power from on high or self or internal will. I don't know. But, and I know this is, I would like to say that I would call this dirty NSNG, but I lived, because we were in the hospital for a while with her, and I lived off of Wendy's aged triples with no bun for weeks. So it's just meat and cheese, lettuce and tomato. That's it. And that's what I survived on. And, you know, after we got through all of her health stuff, well, that part, there was a lot of lingering and stuff after that we're still dealing with. But after we did that, we got back home. We kind of got back into a routine. I literally started by sitting on the edge of my hospital bed, and I would just, with my feet on the ground, I would just sit there and I would just lift 1 foot at a time, about an inch off the ground, just moving, just doing it. And then I got to where I was able to stand for a little bit, and I would sit back down. And then I just kept one small step. It's like that saying, you know, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. My recovery started with 1-inch steps on the side of the hospital bed. And I just started there, and I got to where I could move from the bed to the wheelchair really good. And then I got to where I was more mobile in the wheelchair, because I'm still a big guy. And my wife, you know, the wheelchair I was in is huge and heavy. And then she can't really help me. So I got to where I could get to the back of the SUV, put my own chair up, and then hold on to the side and walk around and get in the car. And it's just slow increments until I was able to go from a wheelchair to a cane. And I walked with a cane for a year or two. And although sometimes walking with a cane is cool if it's a cool looking cane, this one wasn't. This was just an old, like, hook kind. I look like an old grandpa. But I did it, and it got me mobile. And then I got to where I was trying to walk a little bit, try to do a little thing without a cane. And this whole time I'm doing NSNG, and I'm losing weight, and it just keeps going. I'm going to the doctor the whole time too. She's my primary is follow me along, all this stuff. And she's seeing the weight drop. She's seeing my A1C go down. I'm no longer on diabetes medicine. I'm no longer on any of that. I'm sitting there and I'm telling her what I'm eating. I'm eating bacon. I'm eating steak. I'm eating eggs. I'm eating cheese. I'm eating all these things. And they test my blood. I have my blood checked twice a year. Cholesterol looks perfect. All these things. And she says, I don't know what it is, but whatever you do, keep doing it. And you know, there's some people that wanted me to reach out to some other people and tell them my story and all that. And so I'm doing it. I'm losing the weight. I'm getting more mobile. I'm doing all this. And this whole time I'm on disability because there's no way I could work. There was nothing I could do. So I'm on disability, all this stuff. And I'm finally like, you know what? I want to go back to work. I want to do something productive. I want to to make a difference in somebody's life. And I'm like, who would hire me? Because, you know, I'm sitting here. It's not like I'm fully walk. I'm like, I can walk from the car to somewhere and back, and I can stand a little bit. So it has to be somewhere that I don't have to walk a lot, and I have the ability to sit for as long as I can. And, you know, and then I remembered there's only one place other than my house that I was able to do a lot of rehab workout, and that was at our local YMCA. And, you know, I'm on disability, so couldn't really afford it, but they had a scholarship program that's called Share More of Your Story. And you basically fill out this form and you tell them what your life is like, what you're going through, what's going on. And you submit it, and there's this board, they read it, and they make a decision whether or not to give you a scholarship or not. I did that, and I was able to go to the Y for like $20 a month. That was it, just $20 a month. And I wasn't working out. All I was doing was swimming. Or no, at that moment, I wasn't even swimming. I was just in the water, moving, getting the weight off my legs and spine and back and the core, and just getting everything mobile again. And I did that. And then because of that, and because I remember how generous and how kind they were, I was like, maybe I can work there. So I pull up the website, and I'm like, okay, they are hiring part-time member services. I like talking to people. And that was another thing. During that 6 months that I didn't talk, I almost lost the ability to speak like in coherent sentences. Like I lost, like, I don't know what it was. Like I had to retrain myself how to talk. And if you talk to anybody that knows me, I talk a lot. But so, you know, I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, okay, I'll apply. So I applied, and I'm like, dang, I want that. And they asked for 3 references, and I gave 3 references. And, you know, most places, they don't ever call references. The YMCA does, because they want to know who they're hiring. And my best friend, again, same guy from high school, I put him down as a reference. And this guy usually is a goofball. And he usually, like, he'll tell you like it is. He doesn't play. But he gave me an outstanding review. And the next day, the membership director gives me a call and says, you want to come in for an interview? And long story short, I got the job, and I'm going in and out barely walk. And I can barely walk, but I'm getting it done. And one of the great things is being an employee, it comes with a free membership. So I was able to start coming while I was at work. I was able to work out afterwards. I had access to our pools, all that stuff. And then, so that was 3 years ago. And in those 3 years, I was able to hold that job, and I actually got a full-time job because this was part-time. And I got a full-time job picking up and delivering blood, platelets, and stem cells for our local blood bank to hospitals. And if you know anything about hospitals, there's a lot of walking involved. So even though I still had some issues walking, they still gave me a job. And because of that job, I got up to where I was walking 10, 15,000 steps a day. And everything kept going. And I was holding down 2 jobs at this moment. I was working full-time at the Blood Connection, and I was working at the Y part-time. And at the Y, I started taking on more responsibilities. I got certified as a lifeguard. Can't get certified as a lifeguard at 575 pounds and can't walk. And then I became a swim instructor. And then last year, a position came available for me to become an assistant membership director. And that's what I am now. Hence the orange and the big Y logo here. And now I went from a guy who was 575 pounds, who was told he would never walk again, to now being an assistant membership director at a local YMCA, who walks every day, who works out 3 times a week, who swims at least 3 times a week, and who is currently right now training to swim a 1,500-meter open water swim in Scotland in August. That's my story.
It's absolutely incredible. I've taken so many notes. First of all, Matt, I really appreciate how much you embraced. I'm going to let you talk, and I'm not going to interrupt you because you filled up a good 30 minutes of story there, and not everybody takes that challenge on. And you
Like I
took
say,
it
I
on.
like to talk. I like to talk.
Hey, after 5 months of not talking, I love to hear you talking.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, I'm wondering why you went with when you retrained yourself, you went with the deep Southern accent, but that's a different question. You could have chosen anything. No, I'm just kidding. So I want to go back to a couple of things that really struck me. There might not be any questions there. I just want to highlight some of the things that struck me. It's kind of been a theme. And in fact, the person I interviewed yesterday, so last week's podcast episode is with Drew Creasy, and he was the caregiver to someone who struggled with depression. And so hearing the story of what your wife did, and you even said it, because this is what triggers in my head, because my husband did the same thing for me, is that sticking to the vows. And I feel like that just doesn't happen as much anymore. So I love to highlight it when I hear it, because so many of us have hit this point where we could give up hope, we could give up any desire to move forward, but we have someone in our life who doesn't give up on us and is just there. Sometimes it's just there just to be another person. Sometimes that just push to help you do a little bit more, encourage you to do a little bit more. And it takes different shapes and different forms, but there's something in our person, our chosen person, that they don't give up on us. And it's something to certainly value and appreciate. So I want to take the second to thank your wife for not giving up on you.
Oh, most definitely. She is my champion. She is my champion.
So I will, since we're talking about her, even though I have a list of other things, since we're talking about her and she had her own struggle with the stroke, does she also eat an NSNG lifestyle? And does that help her? She does?
She does not. In fact, like her health has been really rough since the strokes. Like once she had the strokes, one, for the most part, physically, there was a little bit of like one side of her body was a little like drooped, I guess, but that has come back. But you can tell it sometimes when she gets tired. Like if she's been doing like, you can tell like she'll start favoring one side. Most of hers, when she had her strokes, really affected her mental state. Just all kind of things started coming out that like she used to be like quiet and sensitive. Now there's no filter. She just tells you like it is, and sometimes that can be good, and sometimes it can be bad. But she's still awesome, and she's also had some other health things. I think, man, we were talking about it the other day. She's had at least one surgery a year for like the last 4 years.
Wow.
And she really struggled with a hiatal hernia. She had it, and then she had it repaired. That one didn't fix. She had it repaired again. That one didn't hold. And it was just like they kept, they would pull it down and tack it, but it was like her esophagus and stuff was just so tight that it kept pulling. And so basically to fix it, they took out 3/4 of her stomach. So there's no stomach there now for a hernia. And because of that, it was basically a distal gastrectomy is what she had. So for most people, they get that when they have a weight loss surgery. She had it for the hiatal hernia. And so she's lost a lot of weight with it. And like her eating, she's an enigma. I've always told her that. I always joke that she was an enigma wrapped in a quagmire, because like anything that you would think that would go against that, her body's going to be the exact opposite. Like having the distal gastrectomy, they're like, you need to stay away from carbs, sugar and stuff like that, because it's going to make you sick. She can eat carbs and be fine. It's just weird. But she is doing better. Like she deals with a lot of mental issues, but we we just ride that train and try to figure it out. But no, she is a warrior, and she's way stronger than I am.
I think that's a beautiful thing. You have to be there for each other. She was there for you, and now you're there for her, and you keep rolling on together.
Oh, yes, ma'am. And she even says that. She's like, she went through what she went through with me to prep me for what I was going to have to go through with her.
Yeah, there's always a lesson somewhere, right? Like I always try to take a second to be like, what's somebody trying to teach me right now? I need to stop and listen to that, take note, use it for the future. So yeah, I mean, it was difficult and challenging, but you're able to do what you're doing now because of all of that. So that makes total sense. So, okay, I'm going to continue down my list of things that really resonated with me. This one did. That you knew all of the people who were rescuing you from your house and they didn't pass judgment. And I want to highlight that thought too, because I talk to people all the time who are like, well, I can't eat this way in front of my friends because they'll look at me. You were at 575 pounds, needed to be rescued from your home, needed to be transported in an ambulance to go to the hospital. That's a pretty significant moment in your life.
Yeah.
And not a single person looked at you and pointed a finger.
That's right. In fact, all I saw was compassion.
Yeah.
I mean, and people I'm guilty of it. I felt the same way, and I did think that way. But if you're really trying to help yourself, the people that are around you, they want you to help yourself. They want you to get better. They're not going to pass judgment. But I mean, yeah, there might be a few bad apples out there that's going to do that,
and that's their problem, not yours.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came to NSNG, I always told them like our church group or my friends or family, I'm like, y'all don't make any concessions for me. I will bring my own food or I will figure out what I can eat. Don't change anything. Don't make anything special for me. I got this. This is on me. But that was me. Some people might do it differently, but I always led with that when I entered anything. Now, I did throw an occasional jab here and there, but like, oh, y'all didn't make me nothing. I see how it is. But then
you lead me to what stood out to me next, which will lead into our prior conversation of living in the South. So here's what you said that comes up next, and then I'll fold it into something else. You stopped drinking sweet tea. And y'all, if you are not from South Carolina, you do not understand that statement. You gave up sweet tea. It is the drink. It is what everyone drinks. It is, if you ask for tea at a restaurant, you're getting sweet. There's no options. You're getting sweet tea. It's the best tea ever. So it's a very significant event to say, I'm giving up sweet tea and only drinking unsweet tea. And I'm going to tie that to church. You just said you were at church and there's church events. Church almost always revolves around some sort of meal. It's not just a Sunday morning event. Usually it's a Wednesday evening event. That's not including your Monday night Bible study. The church is life, especially if you live in the South, right? So it's a significant event to have a change in your church family. And so this leads me back to that previous discussion, that previous hint of a discussion of how do you navigate this lifestyle, especially in the South?
Well, I mean, like you said, if we wanted to stick with the church, you go to a lot of church functions, you're going to have, especially now, because the new thing to do on Sunday mornings is, oh, well, here's some coffee, here's some donuts.
Coffee and donuts. Oh, yeah.
And if you're from the South, it's got to be Krispy Kreme, You're going to have fried chicken. You're going to have 50 different versions of some kind of casserole. And they're all chock full of either noodles, flour, thickener, potato, a lot of potatoes, rice. And it's going to be hard. Basically, you're just going to have to tell yourself, you're going to have to say, are you there for the food or are you there for the people and the social aspect? And one of the things, and this is what I told everybody when I first started, one of the cliques that came with after hearing the leg get cut off and start eating this way is in my mind, and I've no idea how I did it. I don't know how it happened, but in my mind, food no longer was a craving. It was I saw food as a fuel. That was it. So it didn't matter if it tasted good. It didn't matter if it was, which all my food was good. Trust me, my food was delicious. But, you know, I wasn't eating with my eyes. I was eating with my brain. I was eating with, what is this that's going to fuel my body to my next feeding? And I tell people, I said, what NSNG is not a diet. It's a way of eating. A diet gives you the idea that you're going to start or stop it. A way of eating is a way of eating. This is just how you're going to eat. And, you know, working at the Y, I see a lot of people go through and try these different diets. And my thing is, every one of the diets, for the most part, are going to work if you stick to them, if you can stick to them, you know, but it's just hard. And some people just can't do NSNG because they don't want to, you know, they got to have something, you know, they just can't make that mental switch, that thing that's calling them, that certain type of food, and they just don't know if they can live without it. And for me, like, I was just food is fuel. And I think during this time, it was when I was also reading, I read Vinnie's book, the trainer one. And then I also read
Confidential.
Yeah, Fitness Confidential. And then I read the whole, my mind is drawing a blank with the books and documentaries, but I also read, who's the guy that ex-Navy SEAL, and he's a runner. What's his name? He has a very foul mouth, but he will tell you, I mean, he will motivate you.
I know I should know the answer to this. So people are screaming at us right now for not knowing, but y'all know who Matt's talking about here.
Never give up.
Yeah. Gosh.
I can't think of his name.
That's correct. Goggins?
Yes, David Goggins.
Woo, look at us.
There you go. But I read his book too, and I'm like, yeah, I can do this. And you just embrace the suck. In fact, my backpack that I wear every day, the badge on the back says embrace the suck. Yes, it's going to be rough. Yes, you're going to go through hard times, but if you can embrace it and not let it repel you, you're going to reach heights you never thought possible. So all that to say, you live in the South, you're going to have to make sacrifices because you're just not going to compete with fried chicken. You're not going to compete with biscuits and gravy. You're not going to, all these things. And I just I know, right? you just walk in and be like, well, I know that I can deconstruct something over here. So like, there's always going to be a salad. Because nobody eats the salad at a church gathering. It just sits over there and it's lonely. So I would go and I would eat the salad, or I would look for, sometimes there was only times where I just had bacon, just strips of bacon. And I'd be like, well, that's fine. And I go home and eat something later. But the thing that I found, especially with NSNG, and I got to where I was eating all the time. Like when I first started, I was eating chaffles, and then I would eat some kind of cheese, and then I would eat some pork rinds, and then I would eat like steak or chicken or pork chops or whatever. But as I continue to now, I only eat basically one meal a day because I fast the other times because I'm not hungry. And, and so like I stop eating before 10 o'clock at night, or try to. And then I try not to eat anything till after 3 the next day. And then usually if it's some kind of nut or something like that, because I'm at work and I don't want to really eat much. And then when I go home, I got a Blackstone, I make smash burgers, easy, quick. But actually here lately, I've been making chicken salad, where it's rotisserie chicken, cottage cheese. I put sunflower seeds in there, and then hot sauce, and just mix it together. Oh my God. So good.
So good. I just want to say that I started my NSNG journey while I was still living in South Carolina. And well, let me back up a second. Wednesday night supper at church, when it was fried chicken night, I actually had a little song that myself and my children would sing because it was fried chicken night. So, I mean, it's significant. And
Oh,
then I had to, after I became NSNG, peel that delicious fried chicken, Bojangles fried chicken skin off and try to eat a Bojangles chicken without the skin. It's just not the same. It's
no,
not,
no, no,
not at all. So I feel that pain, but you made it happen, you made it work, and it's really what I always like to say about NSNG is it's simple, and like we try to make it more complicated than it actually is. I really like that you talked about how you ate all the time. Like so many
yeah.
people want to follow these rules that people have been doing it for years are doing it, and it's just not the same. When you start, you got to fuel yourself somehow,
Oh, yeah.
and that might be constant eating. And over time, that's going to change and shift, and
Well,
so you
most
are
definitely.
where you are now. Yeah. So there's a couple of things we've been talking it out. I love it. I have a couple more things on my notes of because I want to get to the big thing, which you just alluded to at the end of your story. But there's a couple of things I want to hit first. Is another appreciation for how when you started. It was like some people will get in their head like, okay, I remember when I was in high school, I used to do X, Y, or Z. You were like, I'm going to lift a foot up and put a foot down. I'm going to work to then standing up and sitting down. You have to start where you are. So I
That's
just
it.
want to highlight that section of your story because it's so valuable. It's just an important piece of the story. But I'm going to move on
All right.
because we got some bigger things to. You have shared your entire story. We have been talking for 45 minutes, and you have told us your starting weight. But you didn't tell us, and I love this, that this wasn't part of your story. You didn't tell us how much you lost and where you are now.
Right now, I am sitting right around 323, so I've lost a little over 250 pounds,
It's
and
so amazing.
still going.
Yeah,
But,
it's a continuous journey.
oh yes, it is. I mean, there's been plateaus and stuff, just where not really sure what it is because my way of eating really hasn't changed. It's just sometimes I guess your body just kind of pauses for a little bit. I don't know,
I
but
think so too.
oh yeah, and but yeah, just and working out. And I will say this, leading up to the other thing that you were talking about. It sounds awesome, and my friends, I have the greatest friends, and I have the great people around me, especially even the people here that I get to greet and talk to on a daily basis at the Y. Some of them have heard my story, and they're like, "Man, you lost how much?" Whoa, that's awesome. But you start. My biggest thing is, you remember how I said when I was big, I never really realized that I was big. Now it's reversed. Now, when people say that, man, you're looking great and all this, in my mind, my mental image of me is the 575-pound guy. And every once in a while, I'll walk across a mirror and I'm like, yeah, I have lost some weight.
That
But
ain't bad.
yeah, it's not bad at all. But in my mind, I'm still that 575-pound guy. And that can be scary. But I will say there was something fun happen to get ready for what's coming up in August. They're making me swim in a wetsuit because lochs in Scotland are cold, and the water's going to be about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So they require you, if you've never competed in a open swim before, you have to wear a wetsuit. This body, I don't think was ever meant for a wetsuit. I told my wife I look like somebody who tried to overstuff a sausage casing. I'm like, no, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
My original co-host, Scott King, who you probably know,
Yeah.
has a hilarious wetsuit story that I'm not at liberty to tell. You'll have to reach out to Scott and say, Robin has asked me to ask about your wetsuit story.
I'll do it. Oh, yeah.
So, and now everyone that's listening will also ask, and he'll have to come out with it publicly, and it's my fault. And that's a no filter thing. We're just going to go with it, and he can deal with the consequences of that.
Yeah.
But yes, I get it. So let's go there. Actually, I want to back up. You became you got involved with swim. We may have crossed paths. Both of my children were swimmers. I don't know if your time is the same. We left South Carolina in 2019, and they were swimming 2017 until we left. So we had hit a bunch of YMCA's on our swim tours. So we may have actually crossed paths if
We
that was
could
at the
have.
same
My
time.
YMCA thing didn't. It's only been 3 years, so probably not.
Yeah,
But
maybe not.
in the area that you were from, did you ever go to McLeod Health and Fitness?
Yeah.
I used to swim there.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the very last swim meet that they had before we moved was there.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, I knew we
Yeah.
would have crossed paths somewhere. We just didn't know each other at the
That's
time.
right.
Okay, so let's jump into this very exciting thing that we keep touching on. Is that okay? This guy who was in bed, basically nonverbal, didn't get out at all for 5 months, is training for what?
A 1,500-meter open water swim in Loch Lomond, Scotland.
And why did you choose this?
Anybody that's ever known me, I've always had a desire and a passion to go to Scotland, but because of my size, I knew I never would be able to, because you just don't put that much weight on a plane unless you want to be embarrassed. Or even if, I don't even know if they allow somebody that big on a plane. I'm not exactly sure. But I do know that for most big people that do get on planes, they have to do the thing where they buy more than one seat, and it was just an ordeal I never wanted to do or have to put up with. And so my dream of going to Scotland was just that, just a dream. And I was sitting at the Y, about 5 feet from where I am right now, at the front desk. And one day I was like, I'm not a competitive swimmer. I'm a decent swimmer, and this swim I'm doing in Scotland is just an open water swim. There's going to be, I don't know, a couple hundred more people around me of all different talents and levels doing it. And so it's not like, it's basically a competition for myself to see if I can do it. And so I was sitting there and I was going through and I was like, what is something that can be a pinnacle, something that will just be a topper to a fantastic journey, to something where there was no way, no hope to, I can do this. And I was like, I've always wanted to go to Scotland. So let's look at Scotland. So I was just looking, I was like, and I can swim. So I'm like, maybe there's a swim or something that I can do in Scotland. And I just type into Google, I'm like, open water swimming in Scotland. And it pulls up, there's this website called GoSwim.uk. And I pulled it up, and they have 3 swims every year. And they usually like 3 weeks in a row or every 2 weeks for three swims. And I was like, which one sounds cool? Because I had no idea where these were. I mean, I know Scotland, I know their history. I love Scottish history and folklore. And, I'm a child of the 80s, so I grew up with Highlander, and Sean Connery. But anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, this one sounds cool. So I look at Loch Lomond and I'm like, August 29th, 2026. Now, this was last year. This was like 2025. I'd already missed the swim last year. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this. And I go home and I tell my wife, I'm like, I'm going to swim in Scotland next year. And she was like, what? Okay. And I'm like, and at the time I'm like, and I know you probably won't be there, because she is terrified of flying. She has never flown. She's never wanted to fly. And she's even said that she would never fly. So I was like, but I knew my friend would go with me. And she was like, if you do this and you're really going to do it, I can't let you do it alone. I can't let your friend be the only one see you do this. And so she is going to go with me. And that's a miracle within itself. But so I was like, okay, let's do it. And at that time, I was swimming maybe 2 or 3 times a week, maybe 300, 500 yards at a time. And because our pools are 25-yard pools, so down and back is 50 yards. It's not a full Olympic size pool. And I was like, well, so 1,500 meters, that's roughly 1,700 something yards. And I was like, so I got to get up to that. And so I just started. I was like, okay. So I'm in the pool a lot anyway because I'm teaching swim lessons to little kids. I'm teaching second grade swim because we have this program to where every school in our district brings their second graders and we teach them water safety. So I'm doing that. I'm a lifeguard. I'm still working the desk. I'm still working at the blood connection. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, I can do this. So I have all this time and I'm sitting here and I start swimming. I start prepping. And so now I've got, in that year's time, I went from swimming 350 yards to now I average 2,000 yards a swim. And basically, I think I'm ready. And I'm going to start swimming, doing some open water swimming because all this swimming is taking place in pools. So I'm going to start doing some more open water swimming at this beautiful lake that's north of us that is fed by natural spring and stuff up the mountain. So this water's cold. So it helped get me a little bit more acclimated to use the 60-degree water. And so I did it. And, you know, I had people that I've been blessed with in my hemisphere. One of the members that works that comes to the Y and works out that I greet every time they come in is a travel agent. So she's the one that set that up. One of our senior lifeguards is a excellent coach. He's been helping me with my stroke and my timing and my breathing, and it's just falling into place. And so we leave out August 26th. We fly from Greenville, South Carolina to Newark, New Jersey, and then we have a wonderful 8-hour layover. And then we fly from Newark to Glasgow, and we should arrive on the 27th, I believe, and then the swim is the 29th. So I will have about a day to hopefully get rid of jet lag or whatever else it is, and then I'll do the swim. It's a 1,500-meter swim. I'm hoping that I can do it in less than 45 minutes, and then we're going to spend the rest of the time seeing all the beautiful places and trying to talk my wife into moving there. So, but because every year, I mean, you can ask my wife. Every year, I always ask, "You want to move to Scotland?" Because I love Scotland. I don't know. I feel like I belong in Scotland, and I'm just looking forward to it.
I think that nothing is going to cure jet lag like squeezing into a wetsuit and jumping into 60-degree water.
Oh, I know, right? I'm looking forward to it.
You just got to get yourself there. That's going to be the hard part. Jumping in, you'll be fine after that.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So I do want to bring up that you have a GoFundMe and the title, From Rock Bottom to Scotland, My Swim of Hope. That's very touching. So I will put links to this in the show notes for you because you're actually, what it's saying is you're 79% there through donations of getting this trip. Yeah,
yes,
that's pretty awesome. I know that means that you have a lot of people who care about you and this journey that you've been on and this great celebration that you have planned for yourself, which is a midpoint celebration perhaps because you're just going to keep going. That's
oh yeah.
This isn't like I'm going to do the swim and I'm done. You've got more to do and you're going to do it. I know that.
Oh yes, ma'am. Scotland's not the end. It's just the beginning. So,
yeah, especially if you decide to move there.
Oh, yeah, my wife won't do that. But
now, did you secretly only buy one-way tickets? Because then that might be.
It would have been cheaper.
She would be like, "Wait a minute, there's no return flight here.
I'm sorry.
What's going on?"
Yeah.
Oh, slight oversight. My bad.
Yeah, well, hey, there's YMCA's in Scotland, so.
Yeah, You're good. You got it all planned
Yeah.
out. It sounds like you've got it all planned out. Well, before we sign off, can you tell people where they can find you?
You can find me. I mean, if you want to find me, I do have a Facebook and I do have Instagram. They're both at REVLOFTIS or Rev Loftis. And I'm there. Most of the time, if you go to my Instagram, you're either going to see photos of me and my wife adventuring out in the wilderness somewhere, because I'm really getting into overlanding and just wanting to get back into nature. When you spend 6 months inside your own head and not being able to move, I kind of told people at the time, I felt like I was in I know what solitary confinement feels like for people that are incarcerated, because I was a prisoner of my own mind, in my brain, or I feel like I was. And ever since then, I've wanted to get back into nature. I want to feel the wind and the rain and all this. So I've been really getting into overlanding, and me and my wife going out and just finding cool things to see. So you're going to see a lot of pictures like that. And you're going to see a lot of pictures of smash burgers, steaks, and pork chops. So if you're hungry when you look at my Instagram, you're going to probably be more hungry. So
I enjoy following your social media. So for all of those reasons, I love to see somebody just soaking in the moment, reflecting in what they've gained in this rebirth, and then food. I mean, what could go wrong there? This is great. It's a great follow.
That's right.
So before we close out, do you have any final thoughts, something that you may have forgotten to say that you want to say?
I don't think I've forgotten anything I would want to say, but I would like to tell people who are in the same boat, or that just feel like there's no hope, or that there's nothing you can do. I live by a philosophy that says I have no control over a lot of things that happen to me, but I do have a control on how I react to those things. And if you're having a struggle, or if you feel like there's no hope, you can react to it any way you want to. Just take that first step. Forward momentum is all you need. You just need forward stepping, and you can do it. And put yourself around people that are going to have your back, because it is true what they say. The people you interact with and you put yourself in is how you can tell how you're going to go. Because if you put yourself with people that's going to bring you down and disparage you and make you feel bad, they're never going to get you out of whatever situation you're in. So just push forward. You got this.
Oh, I love that. That's a great kind of final thought to put a pin in it. But I want to say another big thank you to your wife and to your best friend for getting you out of that bed and to where you are today. That was the little nudge you needed, and here you are. So a good shout out to both of them as well as we close out.
Most definitely.
So, on behalf of Matt Loftis, I'm Robin Dobbins. Thank you for hearing our Ketobiography. Bye.